Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. We have something to go through here, let me tell you. The Shipman sisters, Jeane Freeman and Nicola Sturgeon, have been reported over some of the things they've said and done, breaking ministerial codes, and possibly needing a full police investigation. It is incredibly serious. The person who has reported them back in May, 9th of May, has still not had a response, even though these allegations are of one of the most serious allegations that can possibly be brought, and nothing has been done. We're going to have a look at this now, but if this is true, if they have done what is being alleged, prison time. It absolutely looks like they should be going to prison. It is massive. Here goes. So, Nicola Sturgeon and Jeane Freeman reported for breach of ministerial code over COVID. And there they are, a picture of the Shipman sisters. Honestly, you only need a third one, and you got the opening scene from Macbeth, haven't you? NHS campaigner Leslie Roberts says the two SNP ministers misled Parliament and broke the ministerial code of conduct, and she reported them both on the 9th of May. Shockingly, she is yet to receive even an acknowledgement. What these two are alleged to have done is terrible. Now, I'm going to go through all of this, and it doesn't surprise me. I've read through it once. It does not surprise me at all. And I don't think it will surprise you, but it is a terrible thing if it goes. So we're going to get straight in here. Humza Yousaf has been accused of covering up for Nicola Sturgeon after the former First Minister was reported for a breach of Holyrood's ministerial code during COVID-19. Leslie Roberts alleges that both Miss Sturgeon and her Health Secretary at the time, Jeane Freeman, repeatedly broke the rules by making false statements regarding the Scottish Government policy in three key areas: the efficacy of PPE, the use of do not resuscitate orders, and the transfer of elderly patients from hospitals to care homes. She's saying that they lied. They call it the breach of conduct, but actually lies. And the movement of the elderly patients from hospitals to care homes is possibly the most damaging one, because if they were moved and were moved fully knowing they had COVID at the behest of Nicola Sturgeon and Jeane Freeman, I can see nothing other than a charge of murder. This is how serious it is. The former frontline nurse and trade union rep, now one of the country's foremost campaigners on the way the pandemic was handled, submitted her complaint on May the 9th. Shockingly, nearly 2 months later, she is yet to get even an acknowledgement from the SNP administration. Of course, they are going to cover this up because they dare not let this happen. This will be the most serious accusation yet. I'm surprised this woman hasn't been visited, put it that way. In her email, seen by the Scottish Daily Express, she says, "I continue to believe that both Miss Sturgeon and Miss Freeman acted out with the law, and by doing so misled Parliament and broke the ministerial code of conduct." When she says out with the law, meaning basically she broke the law. By doing so, their behaviour and actions caused the death of thousands of people. She, a seriously senior position, a woman who's campaigning, a woman who was at the front line, is making an accusation. Now, she must be able to back that up, or this would not be made. And she is making the accusation that Sturgeon and Freeman are responsible directly for the death of thousands of innocent people. And I, for one, don't doubt it. Now, whether it's true or not is another matter. That's the accusation. Do we believe it? Do we believe that Nicola Sturgeon ordered people to send elderly people with COVID into nursing homes with the understanding that they may take out old people, a lot of old people, which would reduce costs to the state, and also, in their view, reduce those people who are most likely to be unionists, so thus increase the independence vote. If that's the case, Nicola Sturgeon needs to be arrested and questioned on this, and if possible, charged, and if charged, prosecuted, and if prosecuted, found guilty, and never, ever leave prison again. This is astounding that this woman is accusing her of this. She won't be doing that without some kind of proof. Anyway, Miss Roberts, along with two fellow campaigners, also reported the government to Police Scotland back in March. They argue that mistakes made during the pandemic were serious enough to justify corporate manslaughter charges. She also submitted a complaint to the Ethical Standards Commission and was directed to raise the issues under the Ministerial Code rather than the MSP Code of Conduct. She said, they informed me that this was because Miss Sturgeon had taken these decisions as First Minister and not as an MSP acting for her constituents. That was where I was told to go, and so I did. And now no one will even acknowledge it, my email. I expect at the very least to be able to get a reply from the Scottish Government. The Scottish Government will be shitting themselves. There's no other way to put it. They will be desperately trying to cover up everything that's happened. They will be destroying evidence, most likely, allegedly, probably destroying evidence. They will be ensuring that everybody sings from the same hymn sheet with regards to what is going to be said, what the agreed story is, everything. They will be playing Operation Cover My Arse, because they know that this will not just be a bit of a scandal. This will not just take down Nicola Sturgeon and Jeane Freeman and probably some others and put them in prison. This will utterly, utterly destroy the SNP once and for all. I think many people might end up going to prison if this is true. Humza Yousaf needs to be very, very careful because he may well be one of them. He always said he aligned himself closely with the old order, the old regime. What did he know? When did he know it? The first one that goes to the police wins. This is going to make the investigation into the 600,000 look like a pub quiz. Anyway, Miss Roberts continued. I believe Humza Yousaf is just covering up for her, and there will never be transparency or fairness with this administration. Now, I would say to any SNP supporter, did you lose someone? Did you lose someone in a care home, or did you lose someone to COVID because of the decisions Nicola Sturgeon made as First Minister? Because if so, that death is directly at her door if her decisions were wrong. Are you still going to vote for these people? Are you still going to say, yes, they can have my vote, even though the decisions they made killed Granny? Because if so, you're a very weird person. Anyway, she went, they have totally ignored my complaint, and yet the police are taking it very seriously indeed. And they have asked for copious amounts of information, which presumably she has supplied. Miss Roberts, who was the infection control link nurse with NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde and a Unite trade union rep at the start of the outbreak in 2020, has been interviewed by detectives working on Operation Copa. This is the Crown Office-led investigation into hundreds of potentially avoidable COVID deaths in Scottish care homes. This could be manslaughter or possibly murder. She said, as I've provided copious information to the police to support my claim of corporate manslaughter by Nicola Sturgeon and the Scottish Government, it looks as if they are taking this very, very seriously, given the questions they're asking. We've also revealed recently how Miss Roberts had been denied core participant status by the Scottish COVID inquiry set up by the government. So the one woman who knows all about it, who's bringing charges, who's gone to the police, who's complaining about the ministerial code, complaining about everything that's happened, and has evidence. The one person who could answer the most questions about the Scottish COVID inquiry has been frozen out by the government because they do not want her anywhere near this inquiry, because they know what she has to say would utterly destroy everything. Isn't this absolutely disgusting? This is undoubtedly a conspiracy. This is undoubtedly the act of craven cowards who refuse to face up to the truth, and it is undoubtedly the work of potentially criminal people committing the most awful crimes. However, now she has joined forces with a group that is already a core participant, meaning that her months of research and mountains of evidence, enough to fill 29 box folders, can be put to good use after all. So she's joined this group which has got core participation, which means that group has access to her research, which means that is now part of the inquiry. Well done to her. A sideways entrance, but she's in. The Scottish Healthcare Workers Coalition have asked me to come on board, said Miss Roberts. They are a group of doctors and nurses and other frontline workers who felt they had been let down severely and not given the PPE to do the job safely. Which is what I have been saying since day one. Listening to their stories was heartbreaking. Miss Roberts had previously told how the former First Minister and her then Health Secretary, who stood down in May 21, had been dubbed the Shipman sisters by nurses due to the number of elderly deaths they were personally responsible for. By the end of March 21, there had been 3,774 COVID deaths in Scottish care homes, with the controversial policy of moving untested hospital patients in the first weeks of the pandemic said by some to be responsible for many of those, and I suspect even people who knowingly had COVID. Speaking at Holyrood last year, Miss Sturgeon and Scotland's COVID care home death she said they were embedded on my soul. You haven't got a soul, Sturgeon. You're a psychopathic narcissist. Only one person matters in your universe. However, she denied the decision had been unlawful, unreasonable, irrational and cost lives. So that's a lie, a lie, a lie and a lie. 4 lies in one sentence. That's not bad, is it? A Scottish Government spokesman said the letter was received on May the 9th and will be responded to in due course. Well, that's strange because she said it was an email, not a letter. And you've had 2 months. Is that not enough due course? Or are you just waiting until all the evidence has been utterly and totally destroyed? That is what we're at now. That's where we're at. We've got the receipts. Those two must be absolutely shitting themselves. And I do hope so. I'm coming up. Now, before I continue with what I'm going to say, I think it's important to remember that the Scottish National Party was set up along the same lines as the National Socialist Party in Germany. Indeed, they are very heavily aligned. Indeed, I did a video the other day showing how ScotNat MPs and MSPs go off to little functions and parties and give speeches commemorating those brave soldiers who fought with the Waffen SS. So we understand completely the linkage between the National Socialists of Germany in the 30s and the SNP today. So I would say now that this would be Scotland's biggest ever scandal. It is up there with, well, I can't think of with anything else. There is nothing else that matches it. Thousands upon thousands of people dead at the hands of the ruling elite, perhaps. Got to be careful. Possibly. If it is the case and if it is proven, then the care homes of Scotland have become little more than the Auschwitz, the Dachau of the SNP. They need to be treated accordingly, and everyone who supports the SNP must be absolutely ashamed right now if this is even the fact that this is even mentioned. And you know for a fact that they will be doing their absolute best to cover this up, to protect her. They've got to protect the chosen one, because nobody wants to see her go down. I'd say she knows where the bodies are buried, but there's just way too many bodies. This is truly awful. I hope if it comes out and it is proven that she was responsible and she knowingly did this, that her and Freeman get to spend the rest of their lives together in a very small, dark, cold, wet cell, looking at each other, loathing each other for the remainder of their awful lives. I'm stopping now. Thank you very much for listening. Please do hit the subscribe button. Please do hit the like button. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and watch this space, because this is going to run and run and run. Thank you and goodbye.